The most beautiful thing a loving father sometimes gives a baby is not comfort alone. It is the version of the baby that suddenly comes alive in his presence. Maybe the baby has been unsettled for a while. Not a full scream, not a dramatic meltdown, just that quiet kind of strain that sits in the body and refuses to soften. In mom's arms, the baby still clings, still grips, still stays half curled into that tension, as if wanting comfort, but not yet able to settle fully inside it. The body wants safety, but something in it is still holding back. Then Dad steps in, and the strange thing is not always that the baby gets quieter. Sometimes the baby lifts their head, sometimes the eyes brighten, sometimes the shoulders loosen, sometimes the body stops folding inward and begins reaching outward again. The baby looks around, kicks harder, leans farther, laughs bigger, or suddenly dares to touch the world again. That is the part people miss, because the real mystery is not always, why did Dad calm the baby? Sometimes the deeper mystery is, what did Dad make possible? If you care about the hidden emotional logic behind your baby's behavior, subscribe to Baby Cues Decoded, where we decode the moments families feel deeply but don't always know how to explain. Because some of the most important things babies show us do not arrive as obvious signals. Sometimes they appear in a tiny shift, a body that stops guarding itself and starts opening. Before we go any further, we need to make this title true. What a loving father gives a baby that no one else can does not mean a father is the only person who can love, soothe, bond, or matter. It does not mean mothers are replaceable. And it does not mean fathers are somehow superior at attachment. What it means is more subtle than that. In many families, the presence of a loving father brings a very particular developmental texture, a different combination of sensory cues, a different rhythm of play, a different kind of challenge, a different kind of steadiness, a different emotional atmosphere, and sometimes that changes what the baby feels able to become in that moment. What a loving father gives is not always more love. Sometimes it is a different kind of relational space that changes what the baby feels able to become. That is the claim this video is making. Not that fathers matter more, but that loving fathers often matter differently. A baby does not only respond to who is holding them. A baby responds to how that person is present. The voice matters. The rhythm matters. The firmness of the arms matters. The speed of the response matters. The level of stimulation matters. The tension in the face matters. The breathing matters. The movement matters. Even the pauses between actions matter. To a baby, safety is not abstract. It is sensory. It is patterned. It is something the body has to be able to use. That is why two loving adults can produce two very different states in the same baby. Not because one loves more, but because one pattern may be easier for that baby's nervous system to organize around in that moment. Babies do not just feel safe with a person. They feel safe with patterns their nervous system can use. And once you understand that, a lot of family moments stop looking mysterious. They start looking readable. So what kind of pattern can a father bring? Often, though not always, fathers hold differently, move differently, speak differently, pace interaction differently. And very often, they bring more physicality and more exploration into the moment. That does not automatically make fathers better at soothing. But for some babies, it changes the emotional architecture of the interaction. The body may feel less emotionally crowded. The movement may feel clearer. The rhythm may feel easier to map. The invitation may feel less like settle down immediately, and more like, "Come into this pattern with me." For some babies, that matters more than adults realize. A loving father may not change the baby by loving harder. He may change the baby by offering a different pattern the baby can grow inside. That is why the baby in dad's arms may not simply become calmer. The baby may become more available to themselves. For some babies, what dad gives is permission to be more fully in the body. Not smaller, not flatter, not quieter, more physical. They kick harder, squirm more, laugh louder, bounce bigger, use more of themselves. And adults often misread that. They think the baby is getting more wound up, more overstimulated, more out of control. But sometimes the opposite is happening. Sometimes the baby is finally feeling held by a body, rhythm, and energy that can contain that much aliveness without shutting it down too quickly. That is why this moment can look so strange from the outside. The baby does not necessarily become more peaceful in the way adults expect. The baby becomes more embodied. Some babies do not become smaller in the presence of a loving father. Some babies become more fully in their bodies, and that too can be a form of safety. And sometimes what changes in the presence of a loving father is not just the baby's level of calm. It is the baby's willingness to move outward. A baby who feels safe with dad does not always cling more tightly. Sometimes the safer thing is the opposite. The baby looks up, looks around, leans farther, reaches for something just beyond the edge of the body holding them, moves a little farther away, then checks back in. That is what real safety can look like. Not constant closeness, but confident return. The baby is not exploring because dad matters less. The baby is exploring because dad feels steady enough to leave and return to. Sometimes babies feel safe with dad not because they cling more, but because they dare to move farther and still expect him to be there. And that is one of the quiet miracles of a loving father. He can become not just the place a baby rests, but the place a baby launches from. There is another kind of safety that matters just as much. Some babies do not only become calmer with a loving father, they become more willing to try. They try again after missing. They stay in the moment a little longer after frustration. They get upset, but not destroyed by it. They wobble, protest, reset, and re-engage. That is a very high form of safety. Not just, I can be comforted here, but I can be challenged here and still come back to myself. A loving father may give a baby not only comfort, but the courage to try, fail, and come back. That is why some father-child moments look a little rougher, a little louder, a little more alive from the outside. They may not be moments of perfect calm. They may be moments of supported becoming. And sometimes that is exactly what growth looks like. And for some babies, the change is even more specific than that. They become differently regulated. The voice may be lower, the rhythm may be simpler, the hold may be firmer, the movement may be broader. The response may feel less layered, less hurried, less crowded. And for a baby whose nervous system is searching for a usable pattern, that can matter more than adults realize. Sometimes a baby becomes calmer with a loving father, not because he matters more, but because his voice, touch, and rhythm are easier to use in that moment. That does not make him the better parent. It makes him a different regulatory pathway. And babies do not always need the same doorway every time. Sometimes they need the soft place. Sometimes they need the steady place. Sometimes they need the place that makes the whole body easier to organize from the inside out. And this is the part that matters deeply for mothers. If a baby becomes more open, more daring, or more regulated in some ways with dad, it does not diminish what mom means. It may simply show that one baby can grow through more than one form of love. In many families, mom is still the deepest place of return, the place of the biggest need, the biggest release, the most repeated care, the most familiar rhythm. So if a baby explores more with dad or settles through a different route with dad, that does not erase the bond with mom. It simply means this baby is using different caregivers for different forms of safety. That is not a threat to the mother-child relationship. It is evidence that a healthy baby can be shaped by more than one loving presence. And that is not a loss. That is abundance. So what do you do with this tonight? Stop comparing. Start observing. Ask better questions. What does this baby do more easily with dad? More movement? More exploration? An easier recovery? A calmer body? A freer laugh? A looser chest? Let dad build his own regulation map instead of trying to copy mom exactly. Let mom stop reading difference as failure, and together start building a family map of safety. Do not ask, who matters more? Ask, who helps this baby become what and how? Because once you ask that question, the whole family stops competing over who is best and starts learning what this baby uniquely needs from each loving person in the room. If calming difficulties come with feeding problems, extreme sleep disruption, inconsolable crying, illness signs, reflux concerns, or developmental worries, talk with your pediatrician. So the next time you see your baby become something beautiful in the presence of a loving father, don't rush to turn it into a comparison. Sometimes it is simply the evidence that love can shape growth in more than one extraordinary way.